Welcome to the All of You podcast, where we believe healthy relationships are created by growing individually and pursuing a healthy relationship with yourself.
So let's take a deep breath. Settle in and grow together.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So if you had to rank my ability to express my needs on a scale of 1 to 10, how good am I?
Well, there's two scales here.
There's two? No, it's just one.
Yeah, well, we have to clarify because how good you are at it is one thing. How frequent you do it is another.
Is frequency bad or good?
Well, frequency, if you have a need, it is expressed. You are the expresser of needs, for sure.
Okay. Hold on. I'm just talking about scale 1.
How good you are at it?
Yeah. Like, do I actually do it in a good way or?
See, I think it's a good thing that you're able to express it, but
Taking all things into account,
it's hit or miss how it's expressed. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not good.
That's going to lower my score.
Yeah.
Like on average.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying.
What's my score?
That's why I was doing 2 scales.
No, just take it all into account.
It's a C. If I got to average it, you're passing, but not with flying colors.
In what ways what advice would you give me as my partner?
I'm loving this episode. Yeah, glad you asked.
To express my needs better.
I think the advice that I would give is, and I say this admitting before I give advice, that I think you're the better one at it between the two of us. So the advice I'm about to give is really the advice I should be taking.
Hence why we've not recorded this episode yet, because
correctamundo.
This is not our number one. No,
this has
been a tough one for us.
This is a tough one for us. It's a tough one, I think, for most couples.
Mm-hmm.
Expressing what you need is so hard because it's hard to know what you need. And I think that's exactly where my advice to you would be is sometimes you don't know what you need until you're at a deficit and then you're feeling like a little angry that the need isn't met or you're resentful the need isn't met. So when you go to express it, it comes out kind of accusatory.
Yeah.
And then I feel criticized like I'm doing something wrong, that I didn't meet the need, that I wasn't totally aware of the need.
Yeah.
And then I feel bad, and that can lead me to be like maybe a little defensive or less sympathetic of like, oh, I didn't realize that need wasn't getting met for you. Like, let me help you. So I think it's how you deliver it is the advice I would give is in the delivery. It would help me if you made it more about you in a way of like, hey, I really need whatever the need is. Maybe it's reassurance. Maybe it's time to yourself, whatever the need is. If you made it more about like, hey, I've been noticing that I haven't made it a point to get this need met and I'm feeling a little X, Y, and Z, it would help me if you would let me or you could, make space for this. Like how it's said really impacts the way I receive it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like the energy behind it can.
That's exactly what I'm saying is the energy. The energy you come at me with is everything.
Yeah, it's like a rubber band. So if I want to ask for something and I don't pull it back so far, it's easier to meet the need. But if I
it doesn't hurt so bad when you pull back.
Yeah, like the more I kind of have tension built up internally, then when I express it, it leaks out. The energy kind of ends up harming.
Yeah, it's actually almost like child, and I'm not saying this about you. No. Even my energy when my needs aren't met, come out a little childlike, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I need my needs met, and that, like, what that looks like, because
Mm-hmm.
that's just like a acting it out, is no one helps me clean the house. I'm the only one carrying the mental load. I never get to see my friends. You are always picking the restaurant and I'm never getting where I want to eat. Like, it's that. It's that,
Yeah.
like, that kind of crying for help, victimy, anger, resentment, rage that comes out, instead of like being able to calmly explain, hey, I have this need that I need you to meet,
Yeah,
or
it's
I need
part of
met.
maturity, right? Learning how to express your need in a relationship that's a very mature and confident and subtle way, instead of like a child. When a child has a need, it's immediate, it's big, it's a big reaction.
Did you think I would rate you higher or lower?
No, I kind of knew. We've talked about it. I mean, we have these conversations all the time off mic, so it's just a constant growth. I mean, I know that I'm a lot better than I was 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Monumentally.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's the right word, but like massive growth in that area. And I would say this too. It's not 100% on you to communicate it perfectly every time. It's also on me to not personalize it when you
Mhm.
are having a little needy tantrum. It's also like, my need for you to communicate it perfectly actually reveals a little bit of my codependency,
Mhm.
of that I'm not okay when you're not okay. So when you communicate it, I need you to be okay.
Yeah.
Truthfully, where I should be is, if you're having a needy meltdown and you're like, I don't get to go surfing enough. I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's, you don't do that, but whatever your little needy meltdown is, I need to be able to sit here and go, oh wow, he's having a little needy meltdown. Like, what's going on in his world? And not go, oh, what did I do that Dave's having a meltdown right now? And I'm sorry that I
Yeah.
keep using the word meltdown. You don't have meltdowns, but you do.
No,
Like,
I
we
would
all
consider a
have.
meltdown an F. Like, personally, like if I have a meltdown,
That's an F.
that's
Yeah.
an F. I think I'm a C because I wait a little too long and there's room for improvement.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
I
Yeah.
still am improving on this. I admittingly come from a little bit more of a people pleaser. Inside myself, there's a little bit more of a people pleaser and a let me just wait and meet everyone else's need. And then all of a sudden, everyone gets to eat first, and I'm really hungry. And we both are like this
Mm-hmm.
in different ways. And I think we were talking about this too before, where I actually think it's really hard to rank. Like, if I was going to rate you on how good you are at expressing your needs, there's some ways, some needs that you have where you're the best I've ever seen at
Oh,
expressing
tell me about us.
it. Like, if you need to get out of a conversation with someone, you're fantastic.
Oh
Whether it's with
yeah.
me
Yeah.
or with one of your parents, where I think a lot of people get stuck in conversations that they don't want to be in, or something like that. That's not you. Like, you have an uncanny ability to end a conversation at the grocery store, with a checker or a homeless person. You'll just end it, and like you have no, like, that's a need that you have to end the conversation, and you just end it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not mean, it's not harsh. You're just really good at it. I would say if you're hungry, you're really good at expressing that.
I would say I'm good at it in that it is expressed, but sometimes I don't do it the nicest.
Sometimes there's tension, like a little pulled back, but for the most part, you have some needs that I think you express really good. If you need quiet time or alone time or space, I actually think you're pretty good at expressing that and taking that need. Sometimes maybe you don't, but then there's other needs that you don't know that you have or that you don't validate, and they can go weeks or months without being expressed, and you'll really struggle to express that need.
Yeah, I thought
And
that's what you were going to say actually, because my weakness is not always in not expressing it. It's really in knowing what I need.
mhm,
That's the muscle that I am working on building, because I'm not always aware that
yeah.
I'm not getting my needs met in an area until it's overwhelmingly obvious and I'm at this like massive deficit. And then I'm like, then I'm the one having the meltdown. And so I'm working on trying to check in with myself more often and going, okay, how am I feeling? Because the body gives you cues. If I'm anxious for a few days, that's a cue to me. Something's off. Or, if I'm, stressed, or if I'm like really craving alone time or feeling insecure, whatever the body is saying typically is the cue of like, okay, something, I need to get a need met somehow. So I'm working on trying to listen to what are the cues my body's telling me. Okay, if that's what it's saying, maybe this is what I need, and then trying to express it. But that takes a lot of awareness to do.
Yeah.
It's not, that is not something I think for most of us, we weren't really taught to do that consciously. I think our subconscious drives a lot of our getting our needs met.
Mhm.
We don't think about what we need. We just like try to get it. And so I'm really trying to practice being more conscious about it.
Yeah, that's why it can turn into criticism so much, because when you have a need that's not met, but you're not really aware of it and you're not comfortable to ask vulnerably for someone to meet that need, it can come out like you're always on your phone. You're always on your
Yeah.
phone. Why are you always on? When every time we go on a date, you're always on your phone. That is an
Or even
accusation and
like,
a criticism.
when we go to bed or, on the couch, if you say to your partner, like, you're always on your phone.
If you say you're always, that's usually a sign of criticism, which is one of the four horsemen we talk about from the Gottman Institute.
Sorry, I want to cut you off because I want to go back to that phone thing, because I think it's a really important one to linger on this really quick. Of it comes out as criticism. You're always on your phone. But what it really is a need being expressed incorrectly. It's coming out sideways. What you're really trying to say is, hey, I'm craving your attention. Hey, I need, like, that's the need that's underneath this.
Hmm.
But we don't know how to say that, or we're embarrassed to admit that. So we're either not aware, we're embarrassed, we don't want to say it, we don't want to appear needy. And so we criticize the other person. And then the results are a fight, versus if one of us looked at each other and said, and the other one was on their phone and said, hey, I really just need like 10 minutes of your attention. I've been feeling disconnected. The other person would drop the phone immediately
Hmm.
and care for the other person and give them attention, and all would be good. So that switch from, instead of coming from a place of criticism to a place of knowing what you need and asking for it, literally is the difference between a fight or not,
Yeah.
and disconnection or connection.
Why can it end up in a fight if one person doesn't know how to express the need? And I don't like to put people in a bucket of saying there's people who know how to express their needs and people who don't. There's people who know how to do it better and there's people who struggle at this. But I think most of us probably are good at expressing some needs, and then there's wounds that we have that we're afraid to be vulnerable about, that are more difficult to express. And so just knowing like these needs that I have, and they're probably your deeper needs. They're
Yep.
probably the needs that weren't met in childhood that are kind of deeper, that you want to get met so bad and you self sabotage because you don't know how to express. So you criticize instead of ask. and it ends up resulting in you not getting your need met anyway. But why does it end up in a fight when somebody doesn't know how to express their needs?
It doesn't always have to. I'll say that, but I can speak to why it does in our house, which I know is accurate because I live it. It's that when it's expressed in a way that feels blamey or in a way that feels criticizing, the other person is more likely to personalize it as kind of an attack. And I know for me, when
That's usually like
I'm the one that personalized
you're
it.
describing a scenario where I don't express my need well, and then
And then I
you personalize.
feel, yeah, exactly. That's what happens here, folks.
It's different
So,
on my side when you don't express. I'll
well,
let
okay,
you
so
give your
I'll
take.
explain
Yeah.
mine and then you explain yours. So for me, when it comes across as it's my fault or that I'm doing something wrong or like blamey, that touches my shame. And as much as I want to say I've read Healing the Shame That Binds You multiple times and done a lot of work around my shame, I still got it. And so I'm human, right? I'm not perfect. So when it comes across that way, it can touch this part of me that's like, oh, I'm bad because I'm not meeting the needs of my partner. I'm not a good wife. And it makes me feel criticized. Yeah. And so
Which isn't just your shame. Like
I
I
think
will say
it's my shame, but then it's also like it kind of was criticism.
it's on me to not
Yeah.
criticize. Yeah.
And so when I feel criticized, my reaction kind of wants to defend myself.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's not fair. Here's my perspective on it. And so instead of being like, here's my need, let's work together to make sure it gets met so that our relationship's healthy, it's this like me defending myself. Like the subject matter that the conversation should be about is out the window and we're playing the blame game and I'm defending myself and I'm not even caring about your need. When you bring your needs to me in a way that I feel criticized and blamed, my ego cares far more about the blame and criticism placed upon me than your need. And that's just like probably not describing my health, but it is describing how majority of people react when they're blamed and criticized. It's really hard to be criticized by your partner and go, "Oh, man, you see me in a terrible light. That's a really interesting problem you have." That's not that's a hard response to jump to. Although I think there's health in that for me to be able to say, oh, wow, he didn't get his needs met and he's blaming me. That's not my problem, but I can still try to help him. I wish I was that evolved working on it, but that's a really hard jump to get to.
Yeah, for sure. No, it makes sense. I mean, I totally, talked about this for years now, and it's something we always work on. It's our pattern to fix in our relationship. Um, but it's definitely different for me because we have different wounds and we're different people. But it's definitely different for me when you don't express your needs well. I would say the way that it affects me most is, and this is partly my fault, but so I take ownership of it, like my part in the pattern. But you might express a slight need, like maybe a subtle need. And I'm so quick, my like hypervigilance and codependency might pick up on it quickly and try to meet that need. And then you'll realize that's not actually what you really needed. And so I'll go chase that one. And then I'll chase the next one. And after like 2 or 3 tries, I can get really resentful because I'm playing whack-a-mole with your needs. And instead of setting up a boundary with like, hey, I need to know that you know what you're asking for, instead of as soon as you slightly mention it, it's kind of like, this is a bad analogy, but it'd be like if you say, oh, I just got to chill, and then I get you a blanket, and then you're like, I wasn't really cold. Something else was going on, and then I'm just chasing, right? It's like, oh, I need to ask you and clarify, are you cold? Would you like a blanket? Would you like me to get you the blanket? like really just be very clear about, and I've learned to do this over time, and when I do it well, it works very, very well with you. When I can clarify what you need before I attempt to meet one of your needs, instead of just playing whack-a-mole and like chasing your needs, because ultimately it's codependency, because I will start to take responsibility for fixing it, and that's where it becomes a problem.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. It's like a meme, but it's also just like the scene from The Notebook where Noah says to Allie, he's like, "What do you want?" And she's like, "I don't know. What do you want?" Like, that's sometimes how I can be with my needs. And then you'll be like, "Well, is your need a date night?" And I'm kind of like, "Well, that sounds nice." And so I'm like, "Yeah, that's my need." And then I go on a date night and I'm like, actually, I just needed to call my friends and like have some girl time." It's going back to what I said earlier of sometimes I struggle knowing, hey, what is my body telling me? What is this cue? What is wrong? What do I need? And figuring out what it is. I think that's the hardest part, at least for me. I think you're better at it actually. But when I know what my needs are, I can communicate them pretty well. When I don't know what they are, like, of course, you can't communicate what you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll get kind of frustrated with you when you don't know. And it's like I just need to put up, kind of a boundary or whatever. And that's where I can struggle. And so it's like everyone can struggle in some regards to express needs. So it's super important to talk about, I think, in a relationship dynamic, understanding, hey, I know how to talk about my needs, but when I talk about them, they might be I might be a day late, and they might come with a little more heat than they should. How do you protect yourself in that space, and not take it so personal? Or what do you need to do to help support us fixing this pattern? You struggle to know what your needs are, and sometimes you express needs that aren't really needs, and then I'll go do those things and get resentful. So how do I protect myself, and how do we support each other in fixing this pattern so we both feel really safe to express our needs and also don't feel shamed for where we're at? We're still growing and healing and learning. So, supporting each other's growth has really looked like us just understanding the other one, having grace, and taking accountability for keeping our own self safe. Like not blaming the other person when something goes wrong. It's like it's both of our responsibility to fix the pattern.
I agree with that. But then there's like a whole other side to it that happened in the car this morning. So we were coming back from, Sage had something at school we had to be at. So we're on our way back, and it's Friday today, and it's the last day the girls are in school on a Friday. And you were saying how it'd be so cool to just pick them up and immediately go down to the beach today. And I was not saying how I felt about it. I was just kind of like, yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. And you called me out and were like, I can't tell if you want to do this or not with your energy. Like, I'm fully in the throes of planning this with you, and you're listening.
It's this afternoon.
It's this afternoon. Do you want to go? And I'm like, my heart does. That sounds really cool. But I have so much to get done today, and I would need to get their bathing suits and their, sandals and make lunches and pack everything and load it. Like, I would have to
cut the cantaloupe.
cut the cantaloupe. Like I would have to get everything ready to do that. And I don't know if I can do that by the time they're out of school. That feels stressful. Or so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, what can I cut out of my day to make this happen? And long story short, I'm basically just not willing to express my need that, hey, I have too much going on today to make that a priority. And that feels too stressful for me because there is still people pleaser in me that doesn't like disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like such a good time to take the girls down to the beach on their last Friday and have a family day. You're in trainings this entire weekend, so we won't get to do that this weekend. Like that sounds really fun. But it's self-sacrificing. And I was like on this teeter of like, just do it for everyone else versus it's totally self-abandoning. I have a laundry list of things I've got to get done today. I say this because I think that vocalizing your needs is exceptionally hard when you have people-pleasing tendencies because there's this and this like kind of it touches on codependency too, where I'm like, I'll be okay if everyone else is happy and if everyone else is okay. And that's kind of the more codependency side. And then there's the people pleaser side that's like, well, I should just do it for everyone else. Like my needs aren't that important when like they are important. I actually do have things I need to get done today. So I just touch on that because I think I have an extra layer of compassion for people who struggle with people pleasing because it's even harder to vocalize our needs when we feel like it's a burden for others because we just want everyone to be happy and we want it at the expense of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Such a good point. I think we all probably on some degree struggle with codependency at times. It's just on what level do we struggle with it? Or we struggle with being hyper independent and not really taking other people into consideration and just doing what we want all the time. And that's not good either. I think there's a balance of relationship that we always talk about that's going for this interdependent relationship where both people are trying to check in with one another, make sure the other one is happy with life and, content with what's going on, but also not get caught up in the other person's storm and just trying to meet the other person's needs and not even caring about their own. So if I have a need of going to the beach later today and you don't know if you can go, I can sit there when you're talking about it and watch you kind of run circles around your to-do list or make excuses why you want to go but can't go or whatever. Or I can just say, hey, let me know by this time. I'm going to be going to the beach. And if you want to roll, great. If you don't, no worries. And kind of just release you of that like guilt or processing or needing to please me. Like, I don't want you to self-sacrifice to meet my needs. That's not what I want. That's not good for us ultimately. You'll have resentment and you won't be happy. I want you to meet your own needs and figure out what you need and then, express to me when you want to join me on with things. I think we become so resentful when we self-sacrifice all the time and are just trying to meet everyone else's needs. And it's really a problem with a lot of us. If I have that same problem, I can get caught up in your needs all day and not do anything for myself. And I can be totally resentful and it can absolutely attack our relationship from the inside out, where I start to, lose myself. I start to lose my momentum. I start to get resentful and not focus on, not feel confident within myself and all that. And then I'm not bringing a confident, fulfilled human to the relationship. And I think we get it so backwards with the relationships where we think the whole goal of the relationship is to meet the other person's need. And it's like, no, the whole goal is to bring a fulfilled person into the relationship, into the dynamic. It's so much better on a Friday night when the girls are here and we're going to watch a movie or something if I'm happy with myself and I'm come out and dancing or laughing or whatever, or just even like, hey, I really have to get this work thing done and I want you guys to enjoy the night and I don't want to hinder you and I need to focus on this for an hour or something, like knowing what I need and bringing that into the dynamic is such an important part of the balance, instead of me meeting everybody's need and then it's 9 o'clock, I'm depleted and exhausted and kind of resentful at everyone and grumpy. Like that's just not the best way to behave, I don't think. When we can express what we need and really take accountability for our own needs, it changes everything. With all that being said, like one of the hardest things for us to express our needs is people pleasing, worrying too much about the needs of others. Are there any other reasons why it might be hard for you to express your needs other than not knowing them?
Yeah. I think that there is a fear of expressing them and then them not being received and not met, really, not even received. So if I express like, hey, I really need help cleaning the house, and then I don't get help cleaning the house, then I feel more resentful and I feel unseen and not supported. And so if I don't ask, then I'm like, well, I didn't ask for the help, so that's why the need's not being met. So I'm almost like trying to control my expectations or control like what's going to happen in a way by not asking, because the feeling I would feel if I asked for my needs to be met and the answer is no is too painful. So I don't ask.
So just worried about rejection.
Yes.
Fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection is really the long story short of that answer.
That's tough. How do you work through that?
I am still working through that, I would say. I don't think I have that fully solved, but I think it's starting small and building trust. And I think it's trying to understand, if your answer is no, understanding why, because often it's not personal. I think like an example of that would be when we go to have people over at the house. I will often say like, hey, can you help clean the house? And you will say yes. But you will get on the roof and start blowing leaves off the roof. And I'm like,
that's part of the house.
That to me is, I love you, but like that just blows my mind of like that falls on the list of things to do before people come over. I'm like, cool. The one place like people aren't going to look is like under the rug and on the roof. Like, what are we doing on the roof? So
do you know why that is?
No.
It's because I'm not thinking about necessarily what everyone's going to see. I'm thinking of, I have X amount of time and I need to hit the things that need to be done the most. Like what?
Just in life?
Yeah. Like what? I'm thinking of caring about the house. Like house care. Like it's like, like there's certain things in the car. It's like we're having a party in the car, but I'm thinking about the car needs gas so we can get to where we go, and not, or the oil change. Like I want the car to function, not be pretty. So when you say like clean the house, I'm actually not thinking about the aesthetics necessarily.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about the things that need to be done to the house to take care of the house.
My point. With love, the things you decide are important are outrageous in my mind. Like I am like, I'm dumbfounded when I see you do things, and I love you. and you are trying to help, but I just can't even process your thought process. And so for me, like at first I would get really angry because I'm like, that's not helping. Like I'm scrubbing the toilet like a normal person. Like, what are we doing on the roof? And so that would frustrate me, and I would feel like, well, my needs aren't getting met because that is not helping.
Mm.
Because in my mind, that's not solving the problem that I need help with. And so I had to not take it personal that your version of cleaning the house doesn't make sense to me, but it does to you. And I think you believe you're helping, don't you?
I believe I'm doing a job you like aren't gonna do. So like I'm doing
Yeah,
the
where
jobs that
I need
you.
help even with the jobs I can do. Like
Yeah,
everyone can scrub the toilet,
yeah.
but I need help because
That's
there's
why
a
I
lot
think I'm
of
being the
things in the
most
house.
useful because I'm doing the jobs that only I can do. So it's like these jobs need to be done only like
Yeah,
if
and
I
so I'm
don't
saying
do
is
them, no
like
one's gonna do them.
I've learned that that is your perspective, and it's not trying to help me. It's not trying to hurt me. It's not like you're not trying to meet my need. You just don't get it. Like a little bit. And I'm saying that with love. Like
Yeah.
you actually think you're doing the right thing. And so I've had to learn to not personalize that and
Mm.
go, he is helping just in Dave's way of helping. And if I want it in my way, then I have to ask for it very specifically in my way. And you would
Yeah.
say yes if I was
Yeah.
like, hey, I need the toilets, bathrooms, I need vacuumed. Like if I said that, you could help.
I need you to ask me exactly what you want me to do. Like, hey,
Yeah.
can you clean that toilet?
And that, like, I think that could go into like another episode,
Yeah.
but like that in itself, like, would kind of make me feel like, I don't know, maybe it's like if I have to overly express exactly what my need is, then I guess my need is like for you to like understand my needs more. Like, I don't know. Sorry, that's kind of like going off
I
on a
get
tangent,
that
but
you would want help. I've understood this that you want when you say you want help clean the house that you mean the interior. Like that's just
yes,
yeah. And we've talked about this 1,000
a
times
thousand
because this
times.
was one of the things we would like argue about when we do like a house cleaning day. I would be outside the whole day and you would
Yeah,
be
and that
inside.
would not meet my need of
Yeah.
helping clean the house.
Yeah, and I've learned that, but I do think there's a part here that's on the subject of getting needs met, which is sometimes learning to be more specific is better. It sucks to have to vocalize exactly what you need, and there's a process to being able to do that. And I understand that like for you that can be really easy for certain needs. I need to end this conversation right now. Easy for you. Like not a problem for you ever that I witness. Or I need to go to sleep or I like you have certain needs that you can just immediately ask for very clear. Some needs come out more vague and it's like harder to ask for. And I don't understand that because if I was going to ask for help outside, I would ask you very specifically, like, can you shovel this pile of dirt from here to there as much as you can? And whatever you can't do, I'll do the rest of it. But I'd like ask for help, right? And so I don't understand why you have difficulty sometimes expressing certain needs, but I've grown to understand that that's a part of your growth journey. But I think the way that it could be relevant for everyone else is if you struggle to express your need in a direct and clear way, like taking ownership of that and being like, if I want to get this need met, I probably need to learn how to express it more vulnerably, more clear and direct, and wait and see if my partner meets it.
Yeah, and I would actually add to that too. If you're already feeling a little bit of resentment before you've asked, practice saying it from a place of vulnerability before you ask.
Yeah.
Because resentment comes out, and everything is energy.
Yeah.
Everything is energy. And in communication, when you're communicating, it's hardly ever the words you use. It's the energy behind the words.
The facial expressions, the mannerisms.
It's not what is said, it's how it's said. And so trying to work on communicating it from a place of vulnerability instead of resentment or criticism, really practicing that is huge, because you're going to push away what you want when you're communicating it in a way that is repelling. If you communicate something to me in a way that's criticizing, blaming, or from a place of resentment, those emotions, the frequency they're on, emits an energy that is repelling. And I know sometimes I get a little too woo-woo with explaining things like that, but think about it. When you're talking to someone and they're blaming you, what does that energetically feel like in your body? And do you feel like helping them or seeking to understand them when they're coming to you from a place of blame? No, it just doesn't feel good. So,
yeah. And I think I can say why. I think it doesn't feel good because if I come at you and express a need and I have resentment behind it, like it's already, I'm at a deficit, and there's resentment and criticism in my energy, it places a responsibility on you, or like a call out, almost like you should have already met this.
yes.
You should already know this. And when I come at it with the energy of I'm asking for your help, but I'm also kind of saying you should have already helped me, it's shaming a little bit. It's really not a positive interaction. And so if I can learn to notice that I'm already at a deficit, notice that I'm resentful, I can still ask you to meet the need, and I can also do it in a very connecting way. I've learned this over time, is to say, I got to tell you something. I'm at a deficit. I'm frustrated. I'm whatever emotions I'm carrying. I'm resentful, but I'm owning these emotions. And I'm saying, and then I'll say something like, this is 100% not your fault. This is all my fault that I've waited this long to express the need. I don't want to be upset with you, and I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with myself, that I don't know how to ask better, that I haven't learned how to communicate this need better, or that I was oblivious to it and then it caught up with me. And it's almost like you're hungry and you choose not to eat for hours, and then you're mad at the food that you're hungry, that you didn't go eat. And that's how it is. That's how it comes across in partnership. It's like, you're somebody that I would go to for support and help to meet this need. I have to learn to not be mad at you when it's not met, but to learn how to take accountability that I haven't even vocalized it in a way that is attractive or enticing for you to even want to meet it, and take ownership of getting my own needs met inside of a relationship. And if you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to meet your needs, that's another episode. But I will say that that's something to be aware of and talk about and express. I think 90% of couples probably out there want to meet each other's needs. They don't, you don't join a relationship and it's like, I don't care about you. Like, usually you care about the person, you want them to be healthy and get their needs met. But over time, we just get disgruntled, and these energetic, exactly what you're saying, we come at it with resentment, and then we're just two children arguing and fighting for our needs to get met, instead of understanding that that other person is your teammate, and really probably wants you to get your needs met more than anyone on this life, because they want you to be happy.
Well, and I would say on that too, a good partner wants you to get all your needs met, but they don't want to be, and they shouldn't be the one to meet all of your needs. That's a
Mic drop.
really, 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 really important part of this is all your needs cannot be met by one person. And if you put all of that pressure on one person, they're going to explode. It's way too much. And so that's actually why we need community. We need friends. We need hobbies. We need to advocate for ourselves and learn what we need and learn what meets those needs that are not just one person. Because all of my needs, if I sought them to be fulfilled through you, would drown you and keep you from going out and meeting your needs. And so I think it's really important to clarify there's needs that can only be met in your relationship, and then there's needs that should be met outside of it.
100%. Yeah. So well said, and couldn't agree more. I think that's a huge mistake we place, and that's why it comes across with this resentment, because underlying you have a belief that your partner should have met this need. And if you have that belief, you have to unpack that, sort through it, and really remove their responsibility from meeting all your needs, especially when you haven't even communicated them. If you have resentment over expectations of your partner meeting your needs when you haven't even done a good job at communicating them, and it's not like you can have one communication, like, I expect you to do this for the rest of your life. Like, that's not communicating your need. Communicating your need is in the moment, hey, do you have capacity to meet this need, or whatever? I want to do this. Can you watch the kids while I go to this event, or whatever it is? We have to take responsibility for ourselves. If we blame our partner, it really just derails the whole thing.
Needs. We all got them.
We do. And
yeah. And you know what? I'll also say you're probably higher than a C. I think I just like the drama of telling you you're a C, but you're probably like, I think you're in the B's. Sometimes you're even a B plus.
That's what I'm saying. I think it wavers depending on the issue or what the need is. I'm better at communicating some than others. And I also think when you're with a partner that has known you for a while, if you're in a marriage or a long-term relationship, sometimes your score gets skewed because if you're growing, they don't always take into account. Like, I don't know if my grade is from the last 3 months or the last 3 years.
Oh, that's a fair point. Yeah.
And so when you're in relationships, you just got to know, like, that's also hard. It's hard for them to remember. And, you got to take your grades not personal, and say, like, I'm getting better. Yeah, and I'm the best I've ever been.
I'm also not sure if I would advocate for other couples to grade each other.
Yeah, true. I knew I could.
We have a lot of safety to be able to do that in certain topics. Certain topics, I'd be like, "Oh, you want to grade me?" Good luck.
I knew I could handle it, and I knew it would be funny and entertaining, so I went for it.
All right.
Yeah, love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.